So I'm reading chapter 2.2, Resignation Reveals Our Mortal Fear of the Human Condition. And I am starting at paragraph 112. And so, unable to acknowledge the process of resignation, adults instead blamed the well-known struggles of adolescence on the hormonal upheaval that accompanies puberty, the so-called puberty blues, even terming glandular fever, a debilitating illness that often occurs in mid-adolescence, a puberty-related kissing disease. These terms, puberty blues and kissing disease, are dishonest, denial-complying, evasive excuses because it wasn't the onset of puberty that was causing the depressing blues or glandular fever, but the trauma of resignation. For glandular fever to occur, a person's immune system must be extremely run down, and yet during puberty, the body is physically at its peak in terms of growth and vitality. So for an adolescent to succumb to the illness, they must be under extraordinary psychological pressure, experiencing stresses much greater than those that could possibly be associated with the physical adjustments to puberty. An adjustment, after all, that has been going on since animals first became sexual. No, the depression and glandular fever experienced by young adolescents are a direct result of the trauma of having to resign to never again revisiting the unbearably depressing subject of the human condition. Paragraph 113. That sublime classic of American literature, J.D. Salinger's 1951 novel, The Catcher in the Rye, is a masterpiece because, like Coles, Salinger dared to write about that forbidden subject for adults of adolescence having to resign to a dishonest life of denial of the human condition. For the Catcher in the Rye is actually entirely about a 16-year-old boy struggling against resignation. The boy, Holden Caulfield, complains of feeling surrounded by phonies and morons who never want to discuss anything, of living on the opposite sides of the pole to most people, where he just didn't like anything that was happening, to wanting to escape to somewhere with a brook, where I could chop all our own wood in the winter time and all. He knows he is supposed to resign, and in the novel he talks about being told that life is a game, you should play it according to the rules, and to feeling so damn lonesome and depressed that he felt like committing suicide. As a result of all this despair and disenchantment with the world, he keeps failing his subjects at school and is expelled from 4 for making absolutely no effort at all. About his behaviour, he says, "I swear to God I'm a madman, and I know I'm very hard to talk to." But, like the boy in Cole's account, Holden finally encounters some rare honesty from an adult that, in Holden's words, really saved my life. This is what the adult said. "This fall I think you're writing for. It's a special kind of fall, a horrible kind, where you just keep falling and falling," in brackets, utter depression. The adult then spoke of men who, at some time or other in their lives, were looking for something their own environment couldn't supply them with, so they gave up looking, in square brackets, they resigned, adding, "You'll find that you're not the first person who was ever confused and frightened and even sickened by human behaviour." Yes, to be confused and frightened to the point of being sickened by human behaviour, indeed, to be suicidally depressed by it, is the effect the human condition has if you haven't resigned yourself to living a relieving but utterly dishonest and superficial life in denial of it. Okay, so we're up to paragraph 114. Going through resignation has been a truly horrific experience. A friend and I were walking in bushland past a school one day when we came across a boy who would have been about 14 years old, sitting by the track in a hunched fetal position, When I asked him if he was okay, he looked up with such deep despair in his eyes that it was clear he didn't want to be disturbed, and so we left him alone. And by the way, this is Jeremy Griffith, the author of the book, who is talking here. This is his own experience walking through the bushland. It was very apparent that he was trying to wrestle with the issue of the human condition, but without understanding of the human condition, it hasn't been possible for virtually all humans to do so without becoming so hideously condemned and thus depressed that they had no choice but to eventually surrender and take up denial of the issue of the human condition as the only way to cope with it, even though doing so meant adopting a completely dishonest, superficial and artificial, effectively dead existence. In the book, there's this beautiful picture here of a young boy's face. It's captioned, "Too poor to go on school trip, boy fishes the day after classmates perish in plane crash." And Jeremy has written a very short paragraph, 115, about it. It says, "I haven't as yet come across a photograph of an adolescent in the midst of resignation. However, in my picture collection I do have the above haunting image of a boy who had the previous day lost all his classmates in a plane crash, and his expression is exactly the same, deeply sobered, drained, pale, all pretences and facades stripped away, pained, tragic, stunned, human condition laid bare expression I have seen on the faces of adolescents going through resignation." We can see in this boy's face that all the artificialities of human life have been rendered meaningless and ineffectual by the horror of losing all his friends, leaving bare only the sad, painful awareness of a world devoid of any real love, meaning or truth. And I'll put that in a still.